Hey everybody, Jamman025 here. This is a work in progress video for my Final Shot diorama project. As some of you may know, this will be my second Gunpla diorama I've ever done. I've done one before. So I'm going to talk you through how I did this one, and some of you who've seen my other work in progress video for the last diorama, this will be a little bit repetitive. Now for the base on this kit, I used a wooden block. I didn't get anything fancy, just a simple plain old wooden block, piece of junk wood. Next I used Design It Desert Foam. This stuff is used a lot in floral decorations because it's really easy to put, fake flowers in. It's also really good because it's easy to mold, cut, and shape as you see fit. It can be a little messy, but it's real easy to work with. And you see I got an uneven shape here. Next I did is I wrapped this in aluminum foil. I would love to say this was my genius idea, but I can't. I was originally going to use a kind of a wrap that I used in my previous diorama, and it just wasn't turning out that well, and a Twitter follower of mine, Darth Andrea, Dark Lord of the Sith, said that she saw in the Lord of the Rings special edition that they used aluminum foil to recreate rocks in model scenes. So I thought, let's give it a shot, and it turned out really, really good. Now, first thing I did after this is I spray painted the whole thing in a gray primer. Looks kind of plain now and really not rock-like in the least. If you remember the final shot, it was taking place on Albawaku, and it was an asteroid, a really big one. So this is kind of have to look like a rock, asteroid to be specific. You can still see I got some silver on the sides, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to fix that later. Now, the next thing I did is went in and hand-painted this thing and detailed it up some. I used lots of different grays, some silvers, a little bit of everything, but all dark colors, and kind of made this look more rock-like. And you see, it's starting to give that image. It's really going there. And you see, I used a lot of grays, light grays, dark grays, smoke grays, sky grays, a little bit of everything just to mix things up a little so it's not one solid color. And this is kind of starting to look like a rock. Next thing I did was I added a little bit of gravel to it. Now I did overdo it a bit here, but in the final product I do scrape some off. First thing I do with here is I use this Elmer's all-purpose spray adhesive. This is essentially a spray paint glue. Just spray it on there. It is a little messy. Make sure you do it outside. And then I just put this ballast medium gray on. This is actually meant to look like a burnt forest. That's what the idea is, but when I saw it, I said, that kind of looks like an asteroid. It comes with this big old bag. You see, I have a whole lot of leftovers. I don't know what I'll find a use for it, but you never know when I might find some useful. Next thing I did is added some real rocks. This is from Mother Nature's collection. I figured she's got plenty of them. She can lend a few to the project. Missouri River rocks, to be specific. Just a little bit to add a little bit more realism to it, because not all the rocks are going to be really tiny on an asteroid. You will find some big ones. But you see, part of the problem is they're not anything close to what you find on an asteroid. They're the wrong color and everything. So, back to the paints. Went back, painted the rocks, started with some gray, added a little bit of silver in here, make them look, a little different. A bit too glossy, but I give this thing a flat coat at the very end, so that fixes that. Add a little bit of brown, just, here and there, and some blacks, just to mix things up just a little bit. Again, you can see on the edges there, you can still see the silver of the aluminum foil. I'm not worried about that because I'm going to add a border, just like I did last time. My last diorama, I added a border at the very end, and that turned out to be a problem. So I knew at the beginning I'm going to add a border at this point. There you go. Very simple, piece of wood. You can get some junk wood easily enough at any hardware store, and you can get it fairly cheap. Cut it, sand it, clean it up, and then I spray painted the whole thing black. And some screws to lock everything into place. You see, I got the edges there aren't quite as gravelly as the center, so I did have to go back and clean things up a little, add a little bit more gravel, spread it around a little bit more, make it a little more even across. Next thing I did is add some shrapnel. I took this piece here, I heated it up with a candle and bent it. This is just a piece of a part tree. Same thing here. I will have to paint these, however. This piece here is off the Zeta Gundam. I ended up not using this. Again, you can see I just melted that with a candle. This piece here is off the Ball Gundam, Well, that's what I turned it into, is the B Gundam, but this was the clear parts to that part, and I haven't had a use for it. So I chewed it up, melted it, beat it up. That's got to be painted. And I believe this is part of a Gundam Ground Type's backpack that I had sitting around. Good use to never throw away unused parts. You never want to know when they might come in handy. See, painted them, detailed them, kind of made it look like it was a melted piece of shrapnel from the ball, so we don't know what this poor ball pilot died of, but probably a shot by something. Here's what's left of his mobile pod. Put a piece of railing in there, threw this little blue piece over here. Don't know what that was, painted it blue. Again, it's all bent and warped because I melted it. Kind of looks like something exploded. Exactly what, who knows. And a piece of railing here, maybe that was a pipe, who knows. Just a little bit of shrapnel to show that there's a battle going on at this time. Next part is the backdrop. I'm going to be doing a backdrop with this kit. On one side, the back behind the Gundam to make the final shot. In the pose, you see most of it is a asteroid wall that he's shooting up the side of. Again, same deal. There's some desert foam in there, and then aluminum foil wrapped around it. In terms of any kind of plan, I just threw the desert foam on there and wrapped it around, adjusted as I thought would look nice. The panel you see is just a giant for sale sign that I cut up. This is a good piece of plastic because it's nice and rigid, but it's not too heavy either. And you can see I left the top bare because I'm going to add a railing up there. At the picture you can see on the final shot, the very top you see is not asteroid wall. See, I left a little bit of a gap there, but I was able to fill that in with some of the shrapnel. Added a little bit of gravel to the wall too to give it some texture, and again painted the thing all over the place, which I kind of enjoyed. There you see the railing there. That is plow plating. I'm not very good at it at all, but all I'm making is a box here, so luckily that wasn't too complicated. In the picture it's kind of a yellow color, which I didn't care for, so I just painted it aluminum. Give it a more metallic feel, especially it differentiates. Little size comparison. Here is the 1-year war Gundam I'm going to be using for this final shot, and you can see I kind of cheated a little. The railing is a little lower in the picture, but that's alright. And because Too Old for Toys asked for it, here is the real grade Gundam in that same pose. Won't be using him for this project, but it still looks kind of neat. And in some weird alternate dimension where the bear guy made the final shot. There you go. And it's just weird. Well, gang, tell me what you think. I'm well on my way. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. If you've got any questions, ask them. I'll answer them as best I can. For those of you waiting on the Master Grade Heavy Arms EW review, I do have the kit in my possession. I have decided I'm going to go ahead and finish this project first and then do the Heavy Arms. I apologize for anyone who was waiting for that. But as soon as I'm done with this, Heavy Arms first thing I'm doing, so stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and one more thing. Suddenly I feel like having a baked potato with dinner. Not sure why.